Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of The Creative Heart. My name is Gideon and I'm also known as Gideon's Light and I'm your creatively fit coach. So this is our second week of my weekly creative art prompt, and this week in my creative art journal I'm going to be showing you how you can use two cool colors and one warm color. And yes, I'm inspired by the seasons around me, and what could be better than to paint pansies in watercolor, right? I mean, isn't that just gorgeous? So I'm going to be showing you guys how easy that can be. So if you want to get into some watercolor in your creative practice, this is what my focus is going to be for this first few weeks in my weekly creative art prompt series here on YouTube. So remember to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and share it with your friends if you find it at all useful. I'm also always very happy to read your comments and I will reply to that in person. And then, if you will notice, there is definitely a bit of a dream catcher energy in the studio today as well, because along with my patrons for January 2024, we are exploring the dream catcher as a means of manifesting our dreams and goals and intentions for 2024. So earlier today, as you see this episode, I actually painted a live session. In fact, it might still be ongoing when this video airs. So do go over to my channel, look at the playlist, click on the live playlist, and you will see me painting today's or this year's dream catcher for 2024, and I will guide you through the entire process. It will only be available to watch on my channel for a few weeks after this, and then I will make it private again only for my Patreons in the future. So if you want to just have a peek sneak of what I do with my Patreons, then today is your opportunity to see it absolutely for free. So if you see this video, just quickly go back to my playlist and click on live, and you'll find me there for the Dreamcatcher 2024 live painting session. But for now, let me show you how I got into this watercolor. I'm going to turn the camera around and let's get into it. Hi you guys, and welcome to the studio. Let's get into our second week. This is so exciting, and I've already set up everything for you guys. So before we get into what exactly we're going to be painting, I do know that I'm going to need some yellow. Some cadmium yellow is finished here on my watercolor palette. So I wanted to just show you guys what my watercolor looks like, and I keep the watercolor tubes in a little bag in my drawer. And this is Winsor & Newton Cotman watercolor. It's more towards the medium professional range and quality. It says series 1, so this is actually professional. So, you know, there was a period in my journey as an artist where I really started off with watercolor. I was so inspired by the fluidity of it and the vibrancy of it, and I think for an entire year before I really started to develop my acrylic painting, I really focused a lot on watercolor. And some of my channel's earlier episodes of a few years back, you will notice that I work a lot in watercolor, and there are a number of clients and supporters of my channel that are watercolor artists or that want to learn more about watercolor. So I really decided this year to use my prompt box system and to introduce a variety of mediums that I love to play with. So that is what we are going to be doing. So I created the prompt box for myself last year. Sorry, box. You guys must forgive me. as I sometimes fall over my own words, especially if I get into a creative mode. I am dyslexic. And the reason why I share that is because I find that a lot of people have dyslexia and there is no shame about it. I was diagnosed rather late in my life. So there are a number of difficulties that I sometimes have. And it's not only just with vocabulary, with spelling and math, but sometimes because the way my brain is wired, I will, sort of be in a position where I have this mental picture, but I just can't find the words to describe it to you. Or my mind sees something else and I use that word instead of the correct word. So bear with me as I watch my videos and I realize I must, correct myself. I do add a little bit of an insert there to just help you guys keep track with me, but more about that later. So I created this prompt box for myself last year, and this is a lot of fun. And this is going to be my little Rosetta Stone, so to speak, as I get into this year with my creative journey. So because I already have sort of idea of what I wanted to do and what I want to get into with you guys in the beginning of the year, I sort of drew the cards already that relates to today's lesson. And one of the things I want to look at is line. So how I'm going to play with line in my design. I'm going to be using watercolor. That's what I've mentioned already. We're going to be using organic shapes. And the design principle that I want to focus on is balance. The composition that I'm going to be using is vertical, and the colors I'm going to be using, this is the main prompt for today, is use 2 colors that are cool and 1 warm color. So last week we used 2 warm colors and 1 cool color. Do check out last week's episode if you haven't seen it yet. So this week we're going to do 2 cool colors and 1 warm color. That's the main prompt for today. So you don't have to paint or create what I do. In your journal, you are welcome then to pick any of your cooler shades of the color wheel. So we said last week that would be the top half, just where it's yellow, where the yellow line divides, like so. So any 2 of these colors, so that would be a yellow, green, green, blue, blue, violet, violet. That would be your cool colors. So pick 2 of them. You can use a bit of a triad or like a triangle. So using 2 blues or 2 cool colors like that, and look at the opposing color on the color wheel. And then pick 1 of these warm colors for yourself to play with. And do whatever you want to. If you want to do a mandala, there are plenty of episodes on my channel where I play with mandala art. The lid of this little candle, in fact, is a mandala. And mandala is also a spiritual composition. You can just do blobs of color and just see what will happen if you let them mix, and if you let them, wet into wet or dry onto wet, whatever technique you want to do. Or if you want to play with another medium, if you want to work with your acrylic paint, then see how you can sort of play with these colors and create something with the prompt for the week. So again, you don't have to do exactly what I do, but it is one of the things that you could do to get into it. So I always think that it's a great thing to just create some sacred space when you start with your creative practice. Maybe light a candle, put on some incense and some beautiful music to inspire you. These are all sensory things that help us to switch over into our right brain so that we are more sort of open for the intuition to flow through us, through our senses, rather than being critical and analytical from the left brain. So I'm going to put my candle just off camera here, and let's get into that. So I've got my second page here in my art journal, and what I've done is I've used some masking tape just to tape off the outer edge, because it is one of my intentions in this art journal to have a bit of a tidy, clean edge if ever I fill the entire page. So what I've done is I have gone into the internet and I've decided to play with some pansy flowers. I think they're just so pretty. And just to let you know, this is what a pansy is. And here you can see we've got the violet and the yellow. So it's two contrasting colors. I will just introduce some blue into this as well. And I just want you to look at the shape of these flowers. You can also go on Google and or Pinterest and find pansy flowers. And the reason why I want you to look at these flowers is before you get into a drawing or a loose interpretation of something, it does help to just have a minute and look at the subject that you will be painting. Look at the shape of its leaves. You can see it's rounded, but it does have a bit of an edge to it. And just so that when we get into the drawing of it, so that we do something that sort of speaks of a pansy, it helps to count the petals. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has 5 petals. The top 2 are purple, and then the bottom 3 are yellow. There obviously is a variety from one species to another, and then it has a very dark purple center. And that is sort of the main feature of the pansy that I want to focus on today. So just taking note loosely about the structure and form. And I think it sort of helps me to relate to my prompt box here where I talked about line, just to look at the line and the form of the subject that we will be painting and using as inspiration. So I'm just going to put this aside. It helps me just to focus in on something realistic before I get into this open-ended page. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spend 5 minutes and looking at my composition. It's talking about vertical. So vertical will literally be, up and down. So I'm going to be using a vertical shape here, and I'm just going to, just as I remember now from my visualization here of this flower, am I going to just draw in some pansy flowers and just work down in a vertical way. And I'm just trying to imagine just loosely what it would look like if I saw it from the side and from the other side. I imagine those two leaves would be sort of, from the side view, and then I would have a bigger side view of the bigger front flowers. So I'm just going to draw some lines here for myself and just imagine what it would look like if I have a whole field of these in a variety of heights, and I'm just connecting vertically with the stem. Let's see, maybe one from the back. What would that look like? And I'm just imagining, and I mean, it's just a loose representation. Like I said, I don't expect you to do exactly what I'm doing here, but do try, and we'll just give it a loose representation. I think this is the fun thing about watercolor, is you can do a beautiful loose representation of your subject matter and just have fun with it. Don't be too serious, I mean, really, where would be some leaves? I will paint that in. So I'm just giving myself a little bit of a loose representation of what it would look like, and just sort of adding my compositional understanding here. So we have a vertical composition and we have a little bit of placement here. So now before you get into your paints, it's always a good idea just to take a water spray bottle. I like to recycle some of my hairstyling bottles. They're empty, so I just clean them and fill them with water, and I continue to use them as a spray. And these are some of the things I wish somebody told me before I got into watercolor. What would make my life easier, what would make watercolor easier for me. So taping off your page is really helpful. I'm showing you on my art journal because this isn't watercolor paper. This is like 50 GSM normal paper. Watercolor paper is usually a bit heavier, 150 to 80 GSM to 350 GSM. 100% cotton paper is ideal, and it would show off your colors a lot better, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have that. Like I said, this is just thin paper, but we're going to go for it. So I'm going to play with my yellow, and I'm going to start here with my lemon yellow, and I'm just going to use my mixing pan here. So I've got 2 cans of water on my left, and one of them is to rinse my brush with, and one is to get clean water. And I'm just going to dip the toe into this cat yellow as well because it's so fresh. It hasn't set in the pan yet. So we're going to be using some beautiful bright yellow to start with. Now I start with the yellow simply because it is my main color and I don't want it to be too diluted. And I'm just going to sort of aim at the leaves that I know will be yellow and just draw those shapes in very loosely. And my loose pencil sketch here is helping me now to just sort of find this place where I want to place the yellow color. And just talk about that a little bit. I'm going to get some cat yellow again into my little well, my mixing pan here. And I don't want to like completely fill in every single petal because I want to keep some areas that's white, and I'm going to just sprinkle some water loosely here on my page and come in with clean water and just complete some of these shapes, softening some of the yellow with some clean water. I think that's going to just soften some of these lines. That looks nice. Now, before that dries, I'm going to come in here with this quinacridone gold. Oh, I always tend to end up using both my wells of water. It takes me a minute to get into it. And I just want to create a little bit of a richer yellow here and there. And just drop it in here and there into some of my yellow zones. Not a lot, but you know, I understand that watercolor will dry a lot lighter, and having a bit of variety is always a very good idea. Now, before that all dries, I'm going to jump right into my violet. This is my dioxazine violet, and I'm going for quite a strong application. And I'm going to add a little bit of my blue to that as well, but more to the violet. So don't be scared to make this dark. And now I know these are 2 little leaves like that, and I'm going to drop in some of this color where the yellow is and let that flow. And I'm using this organic shape now, understanding that these two violety shapes are at the top of each of these pansies. Let me get more into the purple now. Let's add a bit of water. I'm just finding that leaf that will be in the crown that's violet. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, just look at that color. I mean, really, that's so pretty. So you see, I'm not painting all over the page. I'm trying to make very deliberate marks on my flowers. So let's add the green, and I'm going to dive into my sap green here, and I'm going to keep it quite cool. You'll see just now. So I just want to talk a bit about these little baby blooms that is about to open. And I just want to give each of these pansies a little bit of a stem in between things to help talk about this verticalness. And now let's talk about these leaf shapes. I remember them to be quite round, but you know, jagged. Oopsie daisy. Let's just talk about it. And when I say we talk about it, it's just to suggest to the viewer, we're not trying to say everything. And by leaving some, you know, space open for interpretation by the viewer, they know that this means there's a little baby flower peeking out behind it. Now let's keep these flowers quite cool. I mean the leaves. So I'm going to just drop in a bit of blue here and there, suggesting some shadows. Just keeping it cool. Let's go into the violets as well. That's another way to make green a bit darker. Is to bring in a little bit of the violet, and that always, for me, that's very pretty. So while the color is still wet, you can drop in color. And it is a nice stage of the painting to just let it rest and let it be, and let some of these colors mix and do its thing. That's one of the magic aspects about watercolor that I love. So I'm going to give this 10 minutes or so to dry by itself. And when we come back, we will see what we're going to do to basically resolve this painting. Thanks for watching. I'll be with you now. So just before you guys go, I just wanted to bring the camera in close and show you guys up close what all of these beautiful colors and line works look like. Isn't it just divine how the watercolor just flowed into each other? It gives this beautiful organic finish, and these are just such happy colors. It's a happy yellow, it's such a beautiful blue and violet, And that is exactly how I interpreted the pansies and this week's prompt. So thanks for watching and bye bye for now.